All right, it is August. No one with good sense fishes in August, right? But we're gonna kind of take a few hours to show you ways that may help you fish this time of year. It's extremely hot. There's not even many trucks at the ramp. This is the time of year where guys usually get burnt out and start thinking about hunting. Don't let it fool you. The fish are still biting and it still can be fun. You just kind of got to play the heat. Let me show you some techniques. One of the things I like to do in this time of year is snap a jig through the grass. I'm simply trying to cause a reaction bite by hopping a jig out of the grass real fast and making the fish react to it. Even if he's not hungry, it's natural. So what I do, I'll come in a big grass match like this. I'll start with my side imaging. This is a Helix 15, non-sponsored plug. I buy mine, it's a Helix 15 side image. It's set at 100 feet. I'm scanning the grass right here to my right and my left. And what I'm gonna try to do is look for fish that are tucked right up against the grass that's in this 9 to 10 to 12 foot. So many people fish 20 foot, 25 foot deep in the summer, and then as soon as they come back in September, they go right here and start flipping grass. We need to cover the middle of the road. So today we're gonna try to show you how to stay around the middle of the road and catch some of these fish that don't get fished for it. As you can see, there's a few fish showing up. There's one or two on side imaging. You can see the grass right here. So I'm just kind of looking and I'll scan these points and I'm gonna stay on the main river. I'm gonna stay in areas where there's current. So when they turn the water on, there's a little bit of current here. These fish are gonna gang up. I'm not gonna go way back in the creek and do this. This is more main river oriented. You see a couple of fish right here around on one stalk of grass. But I really wanna find them on side imaging. I wanna be able to see the dots, the tic tacs by the grass. Then I'll take a jig, throw in there and I'll hop it out. Kind of go over that technique, try to make them bite. But you can really shortcut your fish finding with your graft. I got in a little close. You see these specks? These are on the outside, this side of my boat, because I got in a little close. There's a prime example of what one would look like right on the edge of the grass right there. Now look at this hole in the grass. Now let's stop right here. Look at this hole in the grass, in the eelgrass. This is the kind of stuff you're looking for. You see a fish or two on the outside of this grass, we're looking for them in those holes. Those fish use those as like feeding corridors. They just get in there and navigate around. I'm sitting in 12, the mat was right there. So this is a great depth. It's not nearly too shallow. There's a lot going on here. There's bait. We're looking, God, look at all these fish right here. Look at this. Son, that is a group. Now these are right out here deep. So these are on the outside of the boat, but look right against the grass, right here. This is the juice. See these dots? That's a piece of grass. And them fish are ganged up. Look at the big school out here. Let's don't get distracted with those. We're just gonna work on catching these right here. So I'm gonna turn the boat off. I can actually scroll over. If I was on this, I go back. I can scroll right to where that fish is, right on the grass. Simply can mark it, stand up, it's gonna show on that unit. I'm gonna cast the edge of this grass and hop my jig out. So let's see if this works as planned. All right, so you see the bait of choice that I'm throwing. This is my 1/2 ounce ball and out head. This is what Buckeye sells, but it's in a finesse style. I actually just took some rubber, made a full skirt. It's still pretty short and finesse-ious. I'm just gonna hop it through the grass, but normally it'd be a little finesse skirt, but this time full skirt. Keeping it in the grass. Got one to bite it coming out of there. I had to reposition, make a different cast. But he didn't get it on the fall. I've come all the way around the point, and I've had a few bite it, missed a few and caught a little one, but I ain't like really got any of them fired up yet. So I kind of come on around here and I'm making a longer cast. And I'm fighting a little bit of the floating eelgrass, so I'm having to move the boat around to get position. But let's see if there was something to that cast where I was in the thick grass, hopped clean. But you can see them right here. That's the grass. You can see I got there, so I don't have a lot of floating grass or anything in between me and them. And he bit it with some authority, so. And then this technique, what I like about it, it helps me cover water. Because I can really go down a grass line, even if you didn't have electronics, because there's gonna be guys, and I understand it. You're watching this on Wired to Fish, and you're like, well, gee, I don't have side image. I don't have a Helix. I don't have all that neat equipment. Hey, that's fine. Visually see your grass line. Get you a map, buy a paper map at the store. You see a grass line like this, come up to it, start casting to it, feel your way through it. You don't necessarily have to have that. That shortcuts it for me, but you're moving around pretty good with this. You're not just dragging it at a super, super slow pace. That's the cool thing about it. Even if you're practicing for a tournament, the amount of water you can cover in just 1 hour stroking a jig will blow your mind. You can go way down the grass line in 1 hour if you just put the trolling motor down and go. Dude, that's how I learned to do this before I had all this neat stuff. Was just getting out there, and I didn't know where the grass ended. I would just throw to it. And then you would kind of learn to read how thick the mat is. You know, you're like, okay, the mat's pretty thick here. Maybe there's a sharp edge. You throw a little closer to it. If you see the mat real broke up, you know it probably tapers off slow, so you might want to throw further out in front of it. But it teaches you to fish the bait back to you, and you're covering water. You're not sitting still. We're spot locked in this particular situation because I'm throwing right there where I marked a few. But if I was on a strange lake looking for fish, this is a great way in August to keep moving. Old snapback, old jig. And it's all about the wrist action, just kind of making that bait. You're just simply wanting it to hop through the grass and fall straight. You don't want to hop it. Oh, excuse me, I had a call coming in. You don't want to hop it and then keep your line tight. So you kind of hop it and let that bait fall back down in the grass. You want to hop it up and straight back down. Hop it up, straight back down. You don't want to hop it up and reel it to you because you're going to cover it. You're going to jump over a bunch of them. That first fish I caught was little, but he was pretty good ways out in front of the grass. And that's the cool thing about it. They could be right up against it in some places. In some places, they'll be 20 yards out in front of it. And it could be that just like right here, it's a hard place. You see how white that is on that graph, that bright white light? That means it's hard right there. It's soft and dirt, mud right here. But in that particular hard place, you see 3 sitting there. It's just something different. But as soon as it gets lighter, they go to feed, they could go right to the edge. So you want to hop that jig from all the way out. You don't want to rush your cast every time. And if you're hitting the grass, I actually like to hit in the grass. You know, if you're fishing with someone and they're like, I don't want to throw up there and hit in the grass. No, you want to hit in the grass. Because shaking that piece of grass with that bait hung on that grass and you hop it, there's dirt, like this dirt comes off of it. It could be a crawfish on that. You shake him loose. They see that. It gets their attention. I got it. It wasn't no big one, but I hopped it and he got it on the stop. He's a fun guy. Not a big one, but he's a fun guy. But he bit it. I mean, as soon as I hopped it and let it fall, picked up and it was just kind of hung. And that's like when you're snapping a jig like this, that's something you always got to pay attention to. Is you may not feel him bite it. He's usually going to bite it on the fall. A lot of times when you pick it up, if it's hung, just hold pressure on it, see if he'll pull you. He'll literally just catch it in the air like that and sit still. And if you pick up and it's hung and you just kind of half jerk like this, like you're trying to snap it, he's going to let it go. And you're not going to hook him, or you're going to hook him just for a second. So a lot of time when mine hangs just like that, I'll just hold pressure on it until I realize it's grass. Then I'll snap it out. It goes right back down in the grass. I pick up on it, nothing on there, so I know I can snap it. Let it fall right back down. When it comes to doing this, you're snapping it out of the grass, certain jigs are going to come through the grass better. Naturally, this was not an application where a football jig would be the best choice. Most football jigs have a turn across the eye. It's not going to come through there as well. It's wider on the head. It's going to hang more. I throw my ball and out head. It's got the right hook. Everything's in line. It doesn't seem to grab the grass as bad. And I like the fact it falls straight back down. But you want to, when you're selecting your jig to do this, you want it to be more streamlined at the head than a football jig where it would be real bulky at the head. This particular technique, the reason I like the ball and out head a lot is you can see I'm making long casts and I'm hopping it, so sometimes you don't get the best hook set in the world. But you'll notice on a ball and out, that's a 4/0 hook. It's nice and stout, but it's shorter, so it's pretty finessey. He got half my trailer, but even on a long cast like that, I can actually just reel and get this hook to go in the fish's mouth. If you're trying to do this on 16-pound sunline, 7/3 rod, and you've got a giant big bite hook out here, just giant hook, you're probably going to miss more, you're probably going to lose more because you can't get the penetration on a long cast. That's why I stick to the Vanessa style. That's why I started just building my own skirt on it. I got to have another trailer because that sucker bit one of my legs off. And got it good, dude. That's right in between hops. I kind of bent down and let my hand off the reel and he got it. The thing about when you're gonna come out and you're gonna snap a jig this time of year, like working with my nephew a lot, I always tell him, I say, dude, you gotta stay focused, because you don't know, like your strike, it's never when you expect it. Like you snapped it out of grass, I had cleared the grass. I'm 10 feet out in front of the grass, nothing's going on. I'm kind of looking around here. When I picked it up, he got it. So when you do this, you gotta remember that you're putting your bait, the technique could trigger a strike anywhere. There's not like he's gonna be right on the edge. You fish it, stay involved with that cast from the edge of that grass to this boat. At this particular area, I just caught a good fish. I lost a good fish because I was not paying attention. So I'm telling you this from my experience. When you pick this technique up, pay attention, because you're trying to trigger a strike everywhere you go. Honestly, guys, I don't throw a lot of high-speed reels. Never have been. I've never been a huge fan of it. But in this particular technique, I'm a firm believer in a high-speed reel, because as you'll watch my rod when I cast out, you don't want to keep your line tight on this, because your bait's going to fall like this. So naturally, you're putting yourself in a out of position. So like you'll watch when I stroke this bait up, my rod's up here. I'm watching that line lay in a bow, follow the bait. So when I get a bite, I got to reel real fast to try to get out on him, then jerk. So this is kind of one of the only situations that I'm like, high speed reel, high speed reel. This is a 7.5 to 1. I think it's crucial. A minute ago, I hit a fish, and I should have been on that reel handle getting that slack up on him. I probably would not have lost him. You're gonna be caught out of position snapping a jig a lot more than you're gonna be caught in position, because you don't know. He can hit at the top of the cast, the bottom of the cast. It's not like you're dragging. It's not like you're dragging a technique where you're always in position and your line's tight. You're making yourself vulnerable to what the fish wants to bite. You will get caught out of position. High speed reel will help you get back on him. And I'll tell you, if you, like I'm throwing this on a 7.3 MB, medium heavy. Okay, so you're out here doing this, and one of the first questions is gonna come up is, hey, gee, I went and did that technique, got me a balling out jig, put my little twin tail on there, started hopping it in the grass. Man, I'm having trouble hooking them or keeping them on. Go to a little bit bigger rod. If you feel like you're not moving enough line on your hook set, jump up to a 7'6" medium heavy. It will help you in some instance. I can get by with a 7.3. I like it because I can move it faster and I can do most of the work with just one hand. So I'm not actually having to jerk that bigger rod around all morning or something. So I just kind of always settled in on a 7.3. But you can go up to a bigger rod and it will help some of that. Yep, I reeled down a good bit on that one. The old high speed reel paid off. I had to make like 8 or 9 just fast reels on him and I got him. And he choked it. God, it's fun to fish this time of year. You know, sometimes it just comes down to getting bites. Most August, September tournaments you fish, anywhere you go, it's gonna come down to who can get a bite. A lot of times it's like, did I catch 5? So to me, without a shadow of a doubt, August grass lakes, TVA lakes, it doesn't matter. If you've got vegetation and you got, you know, 6-8 foot of water around thinning grass where it starts to thin out, snap a jig. And this, you know, what I do like about jig snapping is it's not something that's only good at sunrise or sunset or during cloudy conditions. This is a technique you can do all day. It doesn't matter. You're actually making the fish react to your presentation. So don't get all bent out of shape on condition as much as just doing it. But yes, all day long, every day. It's something that's just as good at noon as it is at takeoff. I hadn't got it right. And you are kind of fishing the middle of the road on my chunk, dude. You know, this is a technique where I feel like a good explanation would be we are truly fishing the middle of the road, what we're doing here. And by that, you know, so many people focus on 20 foot or 25 foot ledge fishing on the TVA up and down it, from Watts Bar all the way down to Pickwick. And then they want to flip the grass in the fall, but nobody really fishes, I feel like, overlooks the middle of the road. And it's where the deeper grass ends. It's so overlooked sometimes, and it's so available, so much of it. It's a little bit, it can be a little bit overwhelming because you do got to cover a lot of water. But it doesn't take that long when you're snapping a jig. And I constantly tell myself, you're putting that bait in places to a fish that might not have seen a bait in months. You never know, so check the middle of the road. There's a depth between 6 and 20, around 8 to 10 on the TVA and the grass that just gets overlooked in the summer.